Okay, I want to talk a little bit about, what would we call it? Dual NE? God, I'm too hot. The irony of what's going on right now. I just made another video, and it's like 103 out today. I just got back from the park. I'm hot and sweaty. I wanted to change my shirt for the video because I had these big-ass pit stains, and then my dumbass puts on a long-sleeve shirt. I thought it'd be okay. It's clearly not. Anyway, so to make a video on like dual NE dom in a relationship, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my street cred when it comes to ENFPs. So I have two really close friends. My longest standing friend and then another really close friend are both ENFPs. I just made a video on INFPs, so I may be like accidentally saying INFP, but I mean ENFP. So, two closest friends, like many years of experience. One friend I've been friends with for more than half my life, 22 years. My dad is an ENFP, so there's that. And I've been in a couple of relationships of varying lengths with ENFPs and had many ENFPs that I'm pretty close to. So what's my take on the relationship between an ENTP and an ENFP? If you're thinking about dating one or the other, if you're one or the other, what are the obstacles and what are the strengths and weaknesses? Well, so it's interesting because you're doubling down on strengths and you're doubling down on weaknesses. NETI and NEFI is going to bring a lot of awareness. I would say that any DOMs, as a rule, probably have the greatest understanding of their environment and the world that we live in of any of the types. And it's just because of how NE works. We're able to draw these conclusions and understand things and see lots of different layers and nuances and so on. Now, of course, the ENTP is going to do it in probably a more disconnected way, and ENFP is going to do it in a more personal way. So I think ENTPs have a great understanding of their environment in one way, and ENFPs have a great understanding in another way. And if they default to each other, in my relationship with the ENFP, it kind of has that power couple feel, but without the desire for power, so to speak. So it's not like if you got a couple of ENTJs together. It's two people that really understand things, and it was quite amazing to have somebody that I could default to on these specific things, and I just knew that her understanding of people was pretty much beyond reproach. Like, she had it nailed, and she knew that my understanding of environments and things was just dead on, and we just defaulted to each other. This did result in the ability to really get through a lot. And I'm going to tell you just a very quick story, but we dated for about 7 months, and then we broke up, and we got along well enough. I mean, we didn't break up for any real bad reason, but it was more of a BDSM dom sub relationship. And when we broke up, like, we were still good friends, and we were still close. And she lived in Seattle. She decided she was still going to move even after we broke up. She wanted to move to Tucson. So then we ended up, after that, living together for about a year as friends, not dating. But what we overcame on that month-long trip back was astonishing. I mean, we had a blown transmission, a blown radiator. I spun the bearing and welded it to I welded the race to the axle on my vehicle. Let's see, what other breakdowns did we have? Like tires coming off. A master cylinder. This was all on the road. These are all field repairs that I had to do, and there was just a lot to overcome, and we were like troopers. I mean, it literally, like, we were sometimes delayed in a parking lot for a week, and she was really good at handling things. So in that regard, like we really got things done and we're good at manifesting. The issue is you definitely double down on weaknesses. You have two people that both struggle to pay the bills. They both struggle with details. ENFPs are overly flighty, even more flighty than ENTPs, who already struggle to be grounded. So there's that. There is, I think both types are kind of untapped gems. You wouldn't expect us to be as loyal and devoted as we are. And so there was a lot of loyalty and devotion. And I felt surprisingly comfortable with somebody who, for all intents and purposes, seems like they should be really wild and carefree and whatever. But we did well. And, she was, despite it being a dom-sub relationship, she was definitely an alpha submissive. She definitely commanded a presence. She had a lot of people under her at her job. She managed that well. She was very direct and to the point. And I'm saying qualities that I don't feel like are specific to her. I feel like they're ENFP qualities. And so that's why I'm talking about them. So I always felt comfortable that she wasn't going to get herself in bad situations, and she would have eaten most guys alive. So I like that, but again, doubling down on the weaknesses. Neither of us, like come moving time, we're good with organizing things or boxes or boxing, or we would know how to get stuff done, but both struggle with the details. Communication was good. I don't feel like there were any communication problems. FE and FI, I think there's a bit of an issue there. I frequently struggle with FI. It seems like it can just kind of make these... FI feels like it can just flip to me. Like one day it can be one thing and then it just can flip the next day. And so it feels like that can happen with a little less warning. To me, it feels less consistent than an ENTP. So I feel like INFPs are probably a little more mercurial, if you will. Now, with that said, my dad and my best friend, my dad's been married to my mom. They've been together for 50 years. And my really good friend's been with his wife for coming up on 20 now, or maybe actually 20. And they're devoted partners, and those are both men. So I don't think there's a lack of devotion, but there is always that feeling that things could just kind of flip. I had another friend that was married to an INFP, or I'm sorry, I caught myself. He was married to he was an INFP. He was married to an ENFP, and she just one day it was moving to Seattle and I'm joining this church, and she became like a priestess, and just a complete flip in direction in life that no longer included him. So that was clearly difficult, and I've noticed that behavior as well. I think both types have a propensity to get really excited about ideas and then just be like meh and lose interest. So I think there could be a bunch of that, like a lot of grand ideas and plotting and planning and thinking. I think it's a really fun dynamic. ENFPs are much more experience driven than I think ENTPs are. I think, well, in different ways. ENTPs like learning new things, so we like experience that way. But ENFPs seem to be more experience driven in terms of actually doing things, going and visiting and seeing places and maybe museums and dinners with their friends and so on than an ENTP would be. So those are some of my thoughts on it. If you have questions, feel free to comment. I'm going to wrap this up because I want to keep it under 10 minutes. But feel free to share any experiences you have down there if you've dated a ENTP or NFP if you're the other one. And I would love to hear your thoughts. All right, peace out.